According to the Malay Annals in 1299, a Sriva Jayan ruler by the name of Sang Nila Utama took a few of his people to an island known as Temasek. When Utama arrived on the island, he went on a hunting expedition where he spotted an animal that looked like a lion. Soon after, Utama settled on the island and called it Singapura, which roughly translates to Lion City. Over the next century, the Kingdom of Singapura became a successful port city. It was ruled by 5 kings. However, in 1398, the kingdom was burnt to the ground, and Iskandar Shah, the last king of Singapura, fled from the island. Recent archaeological findings support these stories. Based on new evidence, it seems that Singapore was home to a small kingdom that traded with places as far as China. In 1819, Sir Stamford Raffles was searching for a port for the British East India Company on the southern end of the Strait of Malacca. Raffles saw immense value in Singapore as it could be an important location for the tea trade between Britain and China. Soon after arriving, Raffles signed a treaty with the regional rulers of Singapore. By 1826, Singapore was united with Malacca, Dindings, and Penang to form the Strait Settlements. During this period, Singapore had free trade, which lured traders from other ports and turned Singapore into a bustling port once again. In 1869, the Suez Canal opened, cutting 5,000 miles off the original route to Asia. Trade in Singapore increased because it was located on the shortest route from Britain and Asia. The city became so important to the British that it was turned into a crown colony. In the 20th century, Singapore's prosperity abruptly ended. During World War II, Singapore was attacked by the Japanese, and the island remained under Japanese control for 3 years. Singapore was finally liberated at the end of World War II, and it was once again under British protection. After the war, Singapore became a self-governing colony, and by 1959, the island had its own government. The People's Action Party won the election, and Lee Kuan Yew became the first Prime Minister of Singapore. Under Lee Kuan Yew's leadership, Singapore got its independence from the British when it merged with the Federation of Malaya in 1963. However, within just 2 years, Singapore had to leave the Federation because of racial and economic tensions with the rest of Malaysia. On the 9th of August 1965, Singapore became an independent state. Lee Kuan Yew knew that Singapore was in a vulnerable position. He searched for allies, and Israel reached out and helped set up Singapore's military. By 1967, Singapore had established a mandatory military service. With a defense strategy in place, Lee Kuan Yew looked to address the high unemployment that was affecting the country. The Singaporean government set up factories that specialized in manufacturing. Singapore's economic policy then shifted to attract foreign investment through multinational corporations. To attract foreign investment, Singapore's government lowered taxes and promoted science education to create a highly educated workforce. Labor rights and union power were diminished so corporations could benefit from cheap labor. These policies were successful, and by the 1980s, Singapore became the home of multinational corporations in Asia. Apart from carefully planning the economy, Singapore's government took an active role to provide the basic needs of its citizens. To make sure citizens have every opportunity to succeed, the government mandated a savings scheme which allows citizens to pay for their own retirement, healthcare and housing. This savings scheme is called the Central Provident Fund, or CPF. Workers, employers and the government chip in to ensure everyone's basic needs are met. Each adult gets a CPF account, which is split into an ordinary, MediSave and special account. Singaporeans are able to pay for their housing and their family's tertiary education from their ordinary account. Housing in Singapore is handled by the Housing Development Board, or HDB. The government builds apartments and rents it to citizens on a monthly payment. When a tenant completes their flat payments, the occupier gets a 99-year lease on the property. Most Singaporeans are able to own a house through this scheme. The MediSave account pays for a citizen's healthcare, and the special account is saved for retirement. When a citizen retires, they receive a monthly payout from a special CPF account. Homeowners can use their 99-year lease as a means to boost their retirement income. Citizens can downgrade their home to a smaller apartment and use the extra cash they receive as income during retirement. Alternatively, they can rent out rooms to people for a monthly income, or they can participate in a lease buyback scheme, where a portion of their 99-year lease is deducted and refunded by the government. A well-managed CPF fund helps citizens pay for their family's home, education, healthcare, and retirement, providing ample opportunity for each citizen to succeed in life. The price for equal opportunity does come at a cost, though. Singapore's government has designed a society that relies on carrots and sticks to keep society in check. The government tells you what to do, and if you do well in society, you are rewarded. For those who do not follow the rules, the consequences are dire. Singapore does not enjoy the same freedoms as many Western democracies. The government has a lot of power over its citizens. Civil liberties such as freedom of speech and press are limited in Singapore. The government heavily censors the media, and the country is renowned for having some of the most paternalistic laws in the world. From a Western perspective, these rules might seem harsh, but most people living in Singapore are not bothered by them. Decades of uninterrupted rule has allowed the Singaporean government to implement long-term policies that have benefited society. The government has lifted millions of people out of poverty in a single generation, and for this, the people of Singapore have kept the same party in power for 50 years.